Okay, sorry about that earlier. This is part 2 of this video. I had to stop earlier. I got interrupted. So I'm going to continue kind of where I left off. Starting to say this is my mess kit. This has got more modern utensils, knife, fork, spoon. I was explaining the frying pan. This is the more shallow one, indicating 1918. World War II, they would get a little deeper. Split top. Again, this was a 1918 model. World War II, they had the split top. Prior to 1918, when they went with these, they actually had just a flat, smooth top. You can actually see here on the handle, the stamp is 1918. The way these things were designed was really kind of ingenious, and this is for World War II purposes also. You can put the top with the loop over the handle, and then the silverware would also go the same way. So you would hold it all together, and then you can dunk it in a tank or a tub of hot soapy water to wash them real quick. Prior to that, though, they just didn't really go that way, or at least the silverware didn't. Folds up just like any mess kit. This is the meat can pouch of my haversack. Something that a lot of people don't realize with the meat can pouches, for World War I, this is the definite telltale sign. They're a button. They just fold over and button close. They had them a little bit more narrow and more rounded on the bottom for the earlier models. This is more of a 1917 model. The model 1928 haversacks used in World War II, their meat can pouches didn't have the button, but they would actually have a strap which secured it more. Inside the meat can pouch, there's pockets in here so that you could put your utensils. Technically, I do not have them. Your knife and fork would go into a leather sheath, and it would prevent the knife and the fork from being able to puncture through the canvas. That's one thing that I do need to still get at some point in time. When you put the meat can in here, you would always put the frying pan end on the outside. Don't really know exactly why. I just read in a field manual somewhere that the smooth side always went on the outside. The double-ended went on the inside. As you can see, I've got the meat can pouch off of the haversack here. I'm going to show you in a little bit how that all went together. In addition to the meat can, I have also my condiment can and my bacon tin. Common field rations in World War I, unlike World War II, they would have hardtack, which very similar to what they had in the Civil War, but it was kind of more of a bread or a saltine cracker. They would have a can of bacon, cured bacon. I believe they would carry I believe it was around 3 pounds of bacon. And then your condiment can here would carry sugar, coffee, and salt. This can actually is empty, but you would have one end. One end would carry the sugar. The other end, the coffee. And then the wider cap here. May need to get a pocket knife or screwdriver or something. Give me a second. Good old flathead screwdriver. Kind of pry this open. But carry your salt ration. Now you would carry the condiment can, the bacon can, and typically two basically metal containers that were sealed off to protect the food from getting contaminated by gas or anything during a gas attack. Those would be your rations that you would carry in your haversack. One thing that was kind of a pleasantry, I should say, about life in the trenches, although there really wasn't many pleasantries of trench fighting. They were pretty much stagnant. They stayed in one place the entire time, so they had the benefits of having a field kitchen provide cooked meals a lot of times, and the meals would be cooked and then carried by foot up through the trench lines to the front line for the men to eat. So the men actually were able to eat fairly regularly cooked meals instead of living on rations. They did also carry occasionally a little metal tin kit that would carry some small rations, and these were kind of the precursors to the World War II C rations and K rations and all the various different letter designated rations. For me, and this is kind of how this went together, when you did not have rations, you notice I don't have bacon in here, or at least not right now, and I showed you that my condiment can was empty. To kind of save on spaces for stowing or storage, the condiment can actually fit perfectly inside the bacon can. The bacon can just closes up, so it's easier to carry one little thing instead of two. The little sleeves, like I said, of the hardtack, I'd have been carrying 4 items, and I just compacted it all down to one since I don't really have the hardtack. This, if you cannot read it, this is the model of 1916 bacon can. Moving along, I've got laid out here on my bed all the various items that go inside the haversack. I've got my haversack completely torn down to the very bare minimum. I'm going to go ahead and go through all these items and show you what they are and what the purpose and points of them are, and from there I'll do a video of how to pack the haversack. I want to start with the personal items. This is kind of your health and beauty care items, toiletries. This is a part that I'm still working on. I have a straight razor blade that I typically shave with myself on a regular basis. They did carry straight razors, but Gillette Company also produced the first safety razors at this time, and they would also be able to purchase at the cantinas a safety razor shaving kit. I don't have one here, and my straight blade is currently put up in my bathroom right now, and I'm waiting on a few items. to help fill this out. Some shaving cream and a wooden cup, soap dish kind of a thing, and that's really all I'm waiting on. But I would have that, my shaving brush, my razor, need a mirror. This is a recent thing I just got. This is a little soap tin. This is empty right now, but you just put a bar of soap in it. Soap that they used back then. Lifebuoy was a popular brand, but the most famous was Ivory soap. Ivory soap was invented by Procter & Gamble before World War I, and marketed because the soap could float on water. So soldiers taking baths and stuff in rivers and streams would never have to worry about the soap sinking at the bottom of the river and them losing their soap. But yeah, you can put a bar of soap in there. Some of these personal items might look familiar to any of you guys that do Civil War reenacting, because this era, like I said earlier, crosses between Civil War items and World War II. This is a mustache comb, also a lice comb. This is made out of a horn material. One of the big problems that soldiers faced in the trenches was what they would call the cootie, which was basically body lice. So a comb like this would be really nice to have to kind of help pick lice out of you, keep you from getting infected. This can go in here. Slide my comb. This is tooth powder, and this is a brand new toothbrush. It's got a plastic cover over the bristles, but this is a horn handled or bristled brush. Toothpaste was not really in use or even invented by 1917, 1918, so they would use the tooth powder. This is a popular brand for reenactors, especially in Civil War reenactors. It's called Country Gent. I've read quite a few reviews about their products saying that they're pretty good. I found it. I know that you can buy Colgate brand tooth powder still at some pharmacies, but I just figured the price was right and I was able to get this, so go ahead and try this. This stuff is usable, so I can actually brush my teeth in the trenches when I do reenacting. Kind of hide my toothbrush and keep it from getting mixed with my comb. This is a white Huck cotton towel. It's Huck, H-U-C-K. This was a material for washcloths and towels that they had at the time. You can buy these $5 easy at Joann Fabrics. That's where I got this one at. It's just plain white. If you've never seen Huck, it feels almost like a canvas, but it's cotton. It's real thick and coarse. I could see how it'd be really nice to use to wash, because that coarse material can really kind of scrub the skin well. The toiletry bag here that I have, this is kind of a new item for me. This is actually from What Price Glory. You would go under their British items, and it's a toiletry roll hold-all is what they call it. It's got various webbing straps, I mean, to hold various items. I'm still kind of wondering, because these web straps are kind of narrow, so I can't fit larger items in here. I've got to kind of put them all in the pocket down here at the bottom, such as that soap tin and the tooth powder, and those two items alone just pretty much filled out this whole bottom portion. But you know, I guess I could fit my straight blade in here and my shaving brush, but I'm wondering how I'm going to be able to fit my shaving cream. The thing that's nice about this is these things just kind of roll up. It's got a nice cord, so I can tie it all up, make it nice and small and compact. This is a small canvas ditty bag. That's what they're called. Ditty bags were actually made for sailors. They'd have a drawstring cord in it. Show you what I've got this one for. This is just kind of a multi-purpose utility bag. When they would pack their haversacks, they would have change of clothes. Typical change of clothes, you would have spare socks. These are wool knit socks. You would have grays, or you'd find brown and olive green, but gray was kind of more or less the most common. Again, these are wool knit. I have here some just plain white cotton t-shirts, Hanes brand, tagless, but soldiers would have a couple undershirts. They would have the kind of a mustard colored button up undershirt that I showed you guys earlier. It only buttons halfway up. Got boxer shorts underneath. That's about all the clothing that the soldier would have spare wise. Again, there's my overseas cap I showed you guys earlier. And all these items I can easily put inside this ditty bag, along with a few other trinkets I've got. This is a World War I, World War II era housewife is what they're called. It's a sewing kit. I put together parts of it myself. This little red tab here has all my sewing needles in it. Got some safety pins with spare buttons. I've got little sheets with spare thread on it. Got a thimble for myself because I don't want to really prick my own finger. And then I've got multiple collar discs, and this just kind of seemed to me like the most logical place to store the discs. Just like the toiletry kit, this kind of rolls up, and it's got a little tying string on it. In addition to my clothes, my toiletry kit and sewing kit, some personal effects items. This is a leather-bound journal that I bought, Barnes & Noble's. I actually bought this about 7-8 years ago when I went overseas to India for a month. I kept a journal of my ventures over there. You can go back to Barnes & Noble's like I did and buy a replacement book. Soldiers could keep diaries. Technically, they weren't allowed because if they were captured or something, they might disclose classified information about troop strength, movements, things like that. Personal information about who's home. Soldiers would often kind of write in code or just little memos. World War I era, I think the most famous diary would probably be Sergeant Alvin York's. His accounts of his exploits on the 8th of October 1918 in the Meuse-Argonne offensive. He shot and killed roughly about 24 to 30 German soldiers single-handedly. Took out 32 German machine gun nests single-handedly and captured 132 prisoners. with 7 men in his squad. He was a corporal at the time. He was awarded the Medal of Honor, the Victoria Cross, the Croix de Guerre, various different awards, and he was considered the highest decorated soldier in the American Army of World War I. 1941, Hollywood made a movie about his life and his exploits based off of his diary, starring Gary Cooper. It's the famous movie Sergeant York. But yeah, I plan to kind of keep a record diary of my own adventures in the trenches. One of the things is in trench fighting, the soldiers had a lot of downtime. So, you're just sitting there in the trenches waiting for an attack or a counterattack, and they would have patrols they'd have to stand to and kind of keep an eye out across no man's land in case an attack came. But other than that, they'd spend most of their time in the dugouts, practically bored to death, dodging sniper shots and artillery shell. In addition to my journal, I have a manual here of my rifle. This is just a field manual of the model 1917 Enfield. It tells all the parts and stuff. I thought it'd be worthwhile to have in case I ever have to do any kind of gunsmithing. Not that I really plan to. If it's something serious, then I plan to consult an actual gunsmith. But if I need to identify a broken part or need to figure out how something's working because it's not, it's nice to have a reference. In addition to that, this is my tent kit, my shelter kit. This green fabric you're seeing down here, this is actually my shelter half. Little canvas bag here. Again, I got this from What Price of Glory. Wooden tent stakes. Kind of reminds me of vampire stakes. Die, Dracula, die. A guide rope. The tent pole. Now there's various different models, I guess you can say, of the shelter half. World War I, they actually had buttons on them. You can see right here on my shelter an eyelet button, and then the button that would go through the eyelet. They didn't have the snaps. Early World War II, they still had these buttons. Mid to late World War II is when they start going to the snap system. There's various things I've read about whether or not they had these triangle ends on the end of the shelter half, which basically formed the doors on the pup tent when you put them together. It took two shelter halves, two soldiers would pair up and put their half that they carried together to make one tent. One tent would hold the two guys in. Again, there's varying reports. Some of them are more bleached out canvas, khaki color that you see. The one I have here, I believe, is actually World War II, maybe even Korea War. I saw a date printed on it in the corner one day and don't really recall what the date was. It's kind of faded, but I don't think that this is an actual World War I era tent. They're hard to come by, but they did survive and they're out there. Of course, I showed you earlier the model 1917 bayonet, which I'm getting back to because the bayonet scabbard here, the hooks could either hook on your belt, on your cartridge belt, so you'd carry the scabbard along your leg, or they'd hook on your haversack and you'd carry them on your haversack. Most soldiers actually had them mounted onto the haversack, and that's what I plan to do. So when I get to that, I'll show you how that goes together. This is the model 1910 entrenching tool, more commonly an E-tool, or some people call them a T-handle shovel. It's got the T-handle. 1904 is when they first started. You can see the metal going up the shaft here. On the back side, they did not have that metal. It was only just one side. And they discovered that that was a serious structural failure. The shovels would break. So 1910, they started putting the metal on both sides. These were used all throughout World War I for the doughboys, and World War II even used them. In the wood here, they were stamped US. This one actually was an original shovel I found. I don't know if it was World War I era or World War II, more likely. I found it. It was really nice wood, stained, and then the metal was painted a more of a Kelly green, I guess you would say, kind of like what a park ranger would have. It wasn't the olive drab. The paint was flaked and chipping, so I just went ahead and scraped off the paint, treated it for rust, sanded down the handle, which I hated doing because then technically I'm destroying something historically, but I just need to retreat the wood. And when I was done, I went ahead and painted the whole thing with an olive drab coat of paint, which was what they would have been in World War I. Very seldom did you ever actually see them with the basic wood, natural wood, stained or anything. World War II, kind of a misconception, debate. The length of these shovels is 22 inches, and there's a shorter version, World War II, they call it the paratrooper shovel. Basically, they were shortened, and from what I've understood and I've read, it was not strictly issued to the paratroopers. I've seen some pictures of the Marines in the Pacific equipped with them. What I think really was more realistic is these handles broke somewhere, and they probably just popped the rivets out here and cut down the handle and reattached the head to the handle, shortening the handle up. The belief is with the paratroopers being a shorter shovel, it made him less bulky and cumbersome, and get in the way of their rigging and their chutes and stuff, so the troopers could jump with them. The shovel went into this sheath, scabbard. This is a model 1910 shovel cover. Pretty much the same into World War II. Biggest difference is the buckle. World War II, they were a bit more square. This one's kind of got a rounded edge here. This is a reproduction one. I just got off of eBay, fairly cheap. It's dated 1917, which is something I kind of liked, but they were all pretty much the same. The reinforced webbing, canvas webbing at the top, was so that they can attach to either your belt or the haversack. I'm going to show you how to attach it to the haversack in a second. I've seen some of them more later. The attachment would be down here where my hand is, but most of those were more World War II era, and those were more designed to be worn on the belt versus a haversack. Show you real quick too. This is kind of something people don't really think about, but when you put the blade head of the shovel in the sheath, there is a technical way to put it in and a wrong way to put it in. You actually want to put it with the curve of the head facing down. So the back of the shovel would be on the outside. The hooks on your sheath would be at the front or the top part of the head. The reason that would be, I'm going to go ahead and slide that in here. Yeah, it would go like this. The reason that would be is so that when you attach this to the haversack, if you're looking at it from a profile, it would lay more flat this way instead of sticking out from your haversack that way. When you attach it, take the strap. You notice the strap's kind of fairly long. You just wrap it around the handle of the shovel. Take it up through. It's kind of hard to do this one-handed while holding the camera, but that's how it went. And wrapping it around like that, secure the shovel and the scabbard. Okay, moving on. This is the model 1910 haversack. This is in the very basic, plain as it gets. I've got above it, this is the pack tail, also called the diaper. You'll see why when it's put together. With the diaper is this leather strap. The strap is used to connect the pack tail and the haversack together. Something kind of not really known is it's also used as a quick release system, so you can drop your bedroll from the rest of your pack. I'll show you how that's done in a little bit, but it's kind of an option. I don't think it really worked that well. Getting back to the haversack itself, I'm going to flip this one over. This is the difference right here between the model 1910 and the model 1928. The 1910 had one strap right here. This strap would connect to an eyelet inside your cartridge belt. The model 1928 would actually branch off and have two straps, very similar to how the shoulder straps are. That is the quickest and easiest way to tell on your haversack if you have a model 1910 or a 1928. In addition to the straps, you can also tell by the buckles. The buckles are a little more square here, and when you flip them around, the buckles for all the straps are more square. The World War II, they were a little more rounded. They kind of looked a little bit more like the buckle I showed you over here on the shovel scabbard. First thing I'm going to show you with this is this tab right here on the flap, the outer flap. If you notice, it's got two eyelets. Well, that's where your shovel scabbard would hook. I'm going to try and position this camera. There we go. You can see the hooks here, and just to make this easy, I'm going to go ahead and take the shovel back out. All you would do is you'd take the flap, kind of fold it down, and run the end of your hook through the eyelet. It's kind of a pain in the butt. You need to squeeze it. This system of attaching pieces, same way you would attach a canteen to your gun belt, cartridge belt, same with the first aid kit. The holster, same thing. They are a pain in the butt to do. But once they're on, they're on. They don't go anywhere. Unless you have a ill-fitting section. There it is. Now you can see the shovel scabbard just flaps over. Put my shovel back in it. If you have enough extra strap, you can even wrap it around a couple times if you want. I don't think I really have enough, so once is enough for me. Now you see how I was saying that the profile of that makes it lay a little more flat versus sticking out. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and attach, gotta undo the strap on the haversack. Open it up. See these straps here? Use those to get my meat can pouch. And there's the meat can pouch again. I've got these eyelets. What I'm going to do is those eyelets will essentially fit through these little slits. Take my shovel down. Now this strap here, when I have the eyelet through, I take the strap through the eyelet. Like so. Do that to the bottom. That's one side. Do that to the other side now. And you can see meat can is attached. Now, go ahead and open this up. You have your two side flaps and you have your inner flap. Now I'm just going to go ahead and go on and tell you this is where it really gets complicated. The inner flap here, this is so that if you're carrying any kind of small effects like my clothing I've shown you, your rations, things like that, you can put them all along here, flop that over, and then put these over, and then these can actually go through all the little webbing on the flap like that. This is all great if you're not carrying a bedroll. Show you too, there's these little D-rings that will slide through the eyelets at the base of this, and then you can take the snaps here and snap them together to create your shoulder straps on your pack. I'm going to just go ahead and undo those. You can flop this up. If you have a bedroll, it's going to get a little bit more complicated. Your bedroll contains your shelter half, your blanket, and a few other items I'm going to show you in a minute. I'm going to just go ahead and start packing some of these other items up. Put tent pegs in with the guide rope in my tent bag. Go ahead and tie off on my toiletry kit. Tie off my housewife sewing kit. I know it kind of sounds sexist to call him a housewife. You know, women sewing goes back to the old male chauvinist thing. Feminists nowadays would be screaming bloody murder over this, but women sewed, did dishes, cooked. Men went to war. Alright. Now, technically speaking, I could start packing all this stuff in here if I was to just be carrying this stuff alone. But I've got so much more to carry. Actually, put the housewife kit in there. I could pack all that just as so if I want it. But I've got this shelter kit. Got my blanket, which I haven't even gotten to. All of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bedroll and load it all in my bedroll. But before I start with the bedroll, I'm going to attach my pigtail, my pack tail. Now, my pack tail, different ways to do this. There's a little tab right here. Still not quite sure what that's for, but show you the first thing. The US side always goes on the outside. Don't know if it really matters if it's this on the inside or the haversack part on the inside. I don't think it really matters. Me personally, I kind of favor it being this way. My thought process behind this is when it's all wrapped up, if anything, water or anything's rolling down, it's going to roll down and go with the seam versus hit the seam and go inside the pack. That's just my thought process, but it's not conclusive that this is the way. I don't think there really is. The haversack, a lot of people complain about it, wanting to know who designed it, what the heck they were smoking, kind of thing. It was actually designed watching the Native American squaws, the women of the Native Americans. They would be able to pack all their camp belongings in pretty much the most minimal things that they could. So the Army and some brass decided, hey, we should do the same thing. Have our men carry all they can in the most minimal effort. Turn the camera a little bit. The way this goes is this strap will go through the eyelets and just kind of enter every other one. This cord was supposed to be on the back end. This is that part I was telling you about. This is where it's supposed to be in a quick release. I don't know if it matters if it goes up or down. I think you get more leverage with it being up, but the idea is that you can grab this and pull it so the whole thing will come out. Pack tail will drop and it with your bedroll. That way you can drop basically your haversack or your shelter half and your blanket and leave everything else still packed up instead of dropping everything all at once. But whether or not it really works, I've never tried it. I kind of personally have my doubts. This is basically like you're sewing this thing together with this leather strap. Think of it as your thread. and have your pack put together. This strap here kind of gets on your nerves or anything, you can kind of wrap it around. Extra security, there's one of those eyelets right here in the center. All these eyelets are cut vertically. This one in the center is horizontal. So if you want, you can actually feed this little tab through that horizontal slot. Flip this all over. And now I'm ready for my bedroll. Essentially what I did with adding the pack tail on here is I've added more room onto the haversack. Again, I'm not claiming to be the know-all indefinite way to put this together. This is kind of more or less a trial and error and experiment based on what I've read and have seen. The pack is pretty much done the way it should be done. I'm just going to go from there. What I understand, this cord can also go through the same slot that I put the tab from the leather through. That way I can fold this holding up if I want to kind of make more of a catch. If I need more room, I don't even need to use that. The little D-hooks here can be used with the ends of the shoulder straps to make a complete connection for the shoulder straps, I can't speak. You can always hook the shoulder straps straight to your cartridge belt. In fact, the shorter piece right here was designed to do exactly that. Just going to go ahead and start packing up what I can. I think the first thing I want to do is I'm going to start with the shelter half. My shelter half here is completely laid out on my bed, spread apart. The only thing I've done with it is I've taken the triangle ends and I've folded them inwards. So I'm just going to start from there. I'm going to go ahead and move this and just kind of get it off the bed and out of the way. We're going to come back to it. Do the same thing with the bayonet. The bayonet will be the last thing I do. Okay. Now, the shelter half. From what I've read, I kind of want to try and get this into as much of a square as possible. It's pretty much already there. What I want to do next is fold my blanket. I have this blanket here. I believe it's World War II era, very similar to World War I. Blankets are something that's completely different. To really know what blanket they had in World War I, you need to